the Nelk boys, the greatest political minds of a generation, the greatest political journalists of a generation, our generation specifically.
Political theorists, man.
Our kin, podcasters, cut from the same cloth.
Solid. Look, I have to be in solidarity with my fellow podcaster.
Yes, exactly.
I can't betray my class interest.
Exactly. They're podcasters. They're social media sensations. Big partiers, big frat guys, beer company owners or participants or whatever the hell they do.
And big time political commentators. And they're very thoughtful and intentional when they do political commentary.
Exactly.
And when they do geopolitical commentary. I'd say they're the number 2 geopolitical podcast.
Most certainly.
For sure.
Because the reach that the Nelk boys having Benjamin Netanyahu on was just...
Jesus Christ.
That was something, man. I don't quite know how to put into words how insane that is, because it's like, you can't platform a world leader, especially as just like a humble podcaster, of course, but you certainly can sane wash them.
You can massage the image.
And I think that's exactly what this whole thing functioned to do, was to sane wash Netanyahu. And everybody involved in this knows that, even like the Nelk boys themselves to an extent.
Yeah.
And it's like, you had Hitler on.
Yeah, but I think I think that was the intention, to massage the image of Netanyahu, certainly because it was set up by the Trump administration. Like somebody in the White House
comms teams did
set this interview up. But I think it actually had the opposite effect, where rather than, I don't know, like humanizing or making Netanyahu more digestible for an American audience, it actually just made the Nelk Boys listeners mad at the Nelk Boys.
Which is gas. I mean, honestly, when you do have one of the most evil people alive doing one of the most evil things you can do on your podcast just to talk about whether or not they like McDonald's or Burger King, you should reasonably get some pushback. I would expect and hope that you get pushback.
And in terms of the audience, like, all of these podcasters, all of these right-wing or manosphere podcasters got so popular doing reactionary politics, right?
Yeah.
Just constantly reacting and constantly shitting on liberals or liberal coded things. But now they're just state media. And that shit is boring. And it's not what the audience fundamentally was founded on. If you're just going to be a mouthpiece for the Trump administration and not push back, especially at a time where he's in trouble because of all the Epstein stuff, if you're not going to push back on someone who's friendly to Trump, when a lot of people don't like Israel, sometimes for anti-Semitic reasons, sometimes for good reasons, right? It's complicated. But if you're just going to be a mouthpiece for these people, your audience isn't going to fuck with that.
No,
and we're seeing like the Flagrant podcast get pushback. We're seeing the Nelk Boys get pushback because you're supposed to be reactionary, not state propaganda.
Yeah, no, the podcast to state media pipeline within the Trump administration is absolutely insane.
Oh my God.
Right? And it's like
my God.
The Nelk Boys had Trump on 3 times, I think, before this was going on, just like run up to the election. They were part of the reason people attributed podcasters to like the Trump win and everything. And then they just start doing the propaganda for him. I don't like, it baffles me. And the interview itself was one thing, right? They start off the interview saying, we're not qualified to do this. Then don't. Then don't. The stakes here are, quite frankly, like too high. Even if the Nelk Boys having on Netanyahu isn't going to do something to like more meaningfully push Netanyahu's message, the stakes of just ruining your own self-image, of possibly allowing somebody to think that Netanyahu is a cool guy and the things that he's doing in Gaza is cool, should be too high for you to even consider doing it.
And they didn't offer any pushback on like anything.
No, and they said, because what, like I said, the interview is one thing. They get in here, they do this. They asked him a couple questions. They like to claim they asked him the hard hitters. They claim they asked him questions. They asked him, are you starving the people in Gaza? And he just said no.
Well, of course he's going to just fucking deny that.
Exactly.
That's
and
not
it's
a hard question.
You can't claim in an interview to be asking contentious questions, to be doing the hard hitters, if you're just asking the question and not doing any pushback. There's nothing contentious about you asking a question. What's contentious is how you deal with the answer that you're given. What's contentious is how you navigate that situation beyond that and maybe hurt the feelings of the interviewee so that you can get the right answer out there. But they're not journalists, as they like to say. But it's like, if you're not a journalist, why are you doing journalism?
Yeah, and part of it's like, I do think, similar to like the Jubilee conversation, I do think there's a way to do this without just doing state propaganda and being totally irresponsible with your platform.
For sure.
There's a way to highlight the right-wing ideologies or the ideology of Zionism, but not give it a platform and in a completely uncritical video, right?
Because that's what it is. The problem isn't having Netanyahu on to like talk to him and ask him questions. The problem is having Netanyahu on and not knowing a goddamn thing about what he's doing or what the conflict he's involved in is at all, and being able to push back. Netanyahu was able to get on here and do propaganda to a bunch of people. And what was just a whole nother layer of the situation is the defense that they gave after they got the pushback, right? They got on Hassan's stream and they were just talking about, guys, we're dumb. We're idiots. We don't really like know any of these things. But the point of the Full Send podcast is to just have anybody on. It's a neutral platform. We're willing to have a conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean you're willing to have a conversation with anybody? Are you willing to have a conversation with some dude that's running around and killing people? Like, it's just like,
well, and
you can't do that.
And that's not an exaggeration. That's what Netanyahu was doing, right?
Quite literally, Netanyahu is running around and killing people by the tens of thousands, by the lowest estimates.
And you can't, like, the sort of, like, pretend neutrality is obviously going to benefit the person that is doing crimes against humanity.
Of course, they got on there and they said, what was it? They said, we're going to let our audience decide. Like, we're going to give these people a place to speak because we'll have a conversation with anybody and we'll let our audience walk away and make their own conclusions. And it's like, what's the point of doing this then if you're just going to leave the audience to its own devices? Yeah. You have a role as somebody with a platform. You have influence over these people, and you certainly have influence over the choices you make and the content that you produce. Yeah. You write the questions, my guy.
Yeah, and it's your show.
When you go out and you ask the guy if he's starving people in Gaza and he says no, and then you're like, would you like Burger King or McDonald's? And then you give him pushback on liking Burger King, low-key valid. That's the most contentious part of the interview, is when you say you shouldn't like Burger King as much as McDonald's. Yeah. That's crazy. That's actually insane.
What we're seeing is like Nuremberg trials level of complicity with slaughter happening in another country. You know what I mean? Like, if you would have done this for Hitler in the 1940s or whatever, you would have been tried at the Nuremberg trials, as many like journalists and writers were who were mouthpieces for the propaganda machine. Yeah. And there's no recognition that from these guys that pretending to be neutral or trying to be neutral, quote unquote, on this issue doesn't just blatantly benefit the side that is doing the genocide.
And just the idea of being neutral in politics is just a disease. The idea of I'm going to go and talk to people on both sides. Once again, it's like what we talked about last week when we were talking about all the Jubilee stuff. Thinking that both sides are equal in a debate or of an issue is just fundamentally flawed. Yeah. There are some things where one person is just right, and it is just right to oppose genocide. Yeah. And it is just wrong to platform the guy who's in charge of doing a genocide.
Yeah. Yeah, like we do have to have, like, you do have ethical positions, and you shouldn't pretend that you don't.
Yes.
Right? Like, the morality is a thing. And what's the quote from, I think, Dante's Inferno? The hottest place in hell is reserved for those who stay neutral during a time of crisis. Like, your neutrality is complicity, especially when it comes to genocide. There's no two sides to a genocide.
And it's like, let the audience walk away with their own opinion. So it's like, okay, you're going to get people who watch this that are just going to walk away, like, just angry at Netanyahu. Obviously, me. You're going to get the people that watch it that fuck with Netanyahu. And then you are going to have the people, the small, impressionable minority of people who don't have preconceived notions about what's going on with Israel and Palestine. They don't have preconceived notions about the genocide. They don't know who Netanyahu is. Right. And they're going to see you, a person that they like, a person on a YouTube channel that they followed for partying and drinking and frat shenanigans, interviewing this guy, pretending like he's just a cool, just regular dude on the street, asking him questions that you don't push back at all on. The only way that those people can be swayed is being swayed towards Netanyahu, unless they go and on their own look at supplemental media to understand maybe where you went wrong, unless the pushback on this interview is so in their face that they have to be like, okay, maybe something was wrong from that. Yeah. But that's going to be even smaller minority of a small minority of people.
Yeah, and it's like Netanyahu doesn't do interviews with anybody. He doesn't do interviews with media in Israel. He rarely does interviews with like actual mainstream American outlets. You should question why he let you have this interview and what you're being used for. Because they knew that it would just be a puff piece. I don't think the public reaction is working out the way that they intended. I think the comms team probably doesn't really understand why Trump won the election. But like, you are getting what is functionally an exclusive, right? Yes. Like, you're not a journalist, but you're getting an exclusive when he doesn't do exclusives. He doesn't talk to literally anybody else. wouldn't you want to question, like, am I being used? Am I a chess piece in this puzzle
because
here?
he absolutely just took advantage of them.
Yeah,
he took advantage of them to say and watch a genocide. Like, dog, that sucks. You shouldn't be able to walk away and like feel good about what you did and say, no, we'll have a conversation with anybody. I won't have a conversation with anybody. A conversation is different than an interview too. That's the point. It's like you shouldn't have world leaders on just to have a conversation. These people are in control of so many people's lives and livelihoods. The stakes are too high to make them seem normal when they're not.
And like, I am constantly reminded that the internet has given a platform to the stupidest people that we could possibly find as a society. And this certainly applies to the Nelk boys, right?
Yeah.
And stupid as they may be, you're still capable of doing great evil. Yeah. And that's what this is. And that's what I mean when I say like Nuremberg trials level of complicity here. Like, you might be stupid. You might have been tricked. Okay, fair. Like, yeah, I think that's probably what happened. But you're also doing something incredibly harmful.
Yeah.
And there's no taking that back.
No, absolutely not. Unless they take down the interview. But even if they take down the interview, the clips exist. The clips are still circulating.
You still did it.
The clips are still probably circulating on this one Twitter account that shows up on our feed that's got like an AI wolf as their profile picture with the Israeli flag in their username. Like those guys, the worst, exactly. Yeah. The worst guys in the world are reposting this, and it's helping them do propaganda for a genocide, and that's bad.
And the thing that really made me laugh about this whole scenario is like immediately after the Nelk boys are talking to Hassan, and Hassan was like, "Dog, you supported like a genocider."
Yeah.
And they were like, well, but we have people on that like do book deals. They're on like book tours. It's like, brother, they are legitimately stupid people. Like, unintelligent.
This guy commands a military.
Yeah.
This guy commands an occupational force in another territory.
Netanyahu is the focal point of the biggest geopolitical crisis right now.
He just bombed like the defense ministry in Syria?
In Damascus, yeah.
He just bombed the defense ministry in Damascus in broad daylight. He was just bombing Iran. He was just doing all this. He's doing the genocide in Gaza, brother. It's not some guy who's selling a book. This isn't just anybody. And they also tried to defend themselves by going and saying, oh, we're having a person from the other side on next week. We're having a pro-Palestinian person on from the other side next week. And Hassan brought up the point that there's nobody that's equal to what Benjamin Netanyahu is on the other side that you could ask.
Yeah.
Like, who are they having on? Just like a guy?
Yeah, because you're not going to like interview like a Hamas leader or something, or somebody that works in a hospital in Gaza. Like, that's not going to happen.
Would a journalist really come on? Like the Nelk Boys Full Send podcast? I highly doubt they're getting Mehdi Hassan.
No, I was going to, and that's sort of what I was going to say is like, it's such a fucking disgrace because like we don't get an interview of Netanyahu against like a real journalist like Mehdi Hassan.
Yeah.
Like that'd be
substantive.
Real work. Yeah. That would be like a genuine, like genuinely useful for posterity, really. But we're not going to get that kind of thing. And they, again, I know that they're stupid. I know that they admit that they're stupid. But knowing that you're stupid, why wouldn't you say like, maybe this is a bit too far for
Maybe
us?
I should defer to somebody smarter to figure out how I should handle this. Maybe you don't even have to say maybe defer to somebody smarter. Maybe I should defer to somebody who knows a bit more about what's going on to figure out how I should navigate this very sensitive situation.
Yeah.
And then there was also the way that they defended themselves when they said, oh my goodness, one of the guys, I don't know his name, he said, well, guys, we're learning right now too with you. You're learning. You don't know anything about this conflict. You don't know anything about the most contentious thing going on in the world right now. And you're going to learn from the lead perpetrator? You think that you can talk to the world leader engaging in a war and get an unbiased opinion about what's happening?
Yeah.
You did it because you wanted clicks. You did it because you wanted the content out of it. You thought this was going to be good for your views. You didn't do it for any principled reason of you want to talk to anybody. You'll have a conversation with anybody. You just did it because it thought it'd bring you in more money. And this is tantamount to war profiteering.
It is. And like the Nazis denied the existence of concentration camps for years and years and years. So much evidence had to be collected, like photos and videos and stuff like that, because we knew that the Allies knew that the Nazis would deny what they were doing. Of course, Netanyahu's going to say, "Oh, I'm not killing civilians. It's actually Hamas's fault."
And it's funny because Hassan was bringing up, like, would you interview Hitler? Would you interview like Osama bin Laden, like these historically evil figures?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, blah blah blah, like evil." And then at one point, Sani's like, "I don't understand hypotheticals, Hassan." And it's like, one, that's a part of the problem.
Yeah,
that's a massive part of the problem right there. And two, it's like you can't bring yourself to say you'd be willing to interview these figures, despite them being, kind of like Benjamin Netanyahu, being bad people. Benjamin doing a genocide and whatnot. You can't bring yourself to say that because history has already colored these people as evil, and history has not had the time to look back on Netanyahu's actions right now, currently, and definitively say whether or not they're evil, despite us being able to look
the
at
history
it.
books made it easy for you.
Exactly.
But
they
in this
did the
case,
work for you. You don't have to go in there and think.
Yeah, and in this case, because the conflict isn't over, because we're alive as it's happening, you can't use your critical thinking skills and decide maybe this is a bad idea for us to do.
Well, it's our Omar El-Akkad quote. One day everyone will have always been against this.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I even feel like if they're just looking for clout, which many such cases, you even could have rejected the interview offer and then talked shit about how the administration wanted you to be a propaganda piece. That would have gotten a lot of views too.
Oh my God, that'd have been so sick.
It probably wouldn't have gotten as many views because just the fact that they were sitting next to Netanyahu is a fucking insane visual.
Well, now they get the rage bait of us too,
of course,
contributing to it and talking
but
about
it. There's ways. My content brain is constantly spinning. There's ways that you can make this good for you no matter the outcome.
Yeah,
but this is the worst possible option.
Again, just to circle back to the beginning, it's not about platforming. You can't platform a world leader. We've always talked about how you can't platform Trump, but you can do a lot of things to massage their image. You can do a lot of things to make them, their presence, their policies, and their ideas more palatable to the everyday person. And especially when you're on a platform like Nelk Boys and the Full Send podcast. Like, if that's not the median voter, I don't know what is. At least the median voter in Gen Z terms. That's the frat guy vote. You've captured that block.
Yeah. And my last thought on this is now the Nelk Boys and similar podcasts are essentially just doing state media, right? Like they maintain a sort of nominal independence, but in reality, they're just doing state propaganda. But that has been their role for a long time. Yeah. Even when it wasn't state propaganda because the right wing wasn't in control of the state, they were still running defense or just doing propaganda, massaging the images of the worst people they could find on the right wing. And now that they are directly working with the government, it looks bad for them. But this has always been their role. And I think a lot of people get tricked into looking at the Nelk Boys or looking at someone like Theo Von or even Joe Rogan and thinking we can win these people back when they haven't been won over. They're going where the money is, and they have become a part of right-wing movements. Winning them over makes it seem like you could just sit in front of them and argue your case and they would change their minds and their influence on society would become good. But these people, the role that they play for the right-wing movement is fundamentally one of doing propaganda and being sympathetic to the cause. Yeah. There's no winning these guys over. You have to fight back against them and call them stupid if you're in a role like us, or if you're a politician, go on there, make them look dumb without being too mean, because then they'll cry and say that you're not trying to bring them into the coalition.
They'll do the Andrew Schultz.
But you got to push back against this shit. I don't think there's any winning these people over. They know what they're doing in terms of engaging in politics.
My last comment on the whole Nelk Boys Netanyahu situation is that they did the Fetterman.
Yeah.
They interviewed Trump in just regular everyday clothes that they'd wear all the time. Then they interview Netanyahu in a suit, just like how Fetterman shows up to the Senate in a hoodie and gym shorts. And when Netanyahu comes to give him the war crime pager, the golden pager, he shows up in a suit.
Why the fuck are they showing up in suits, dude?
That's what I'm saying.
That's so corny.
I guess organized by the White House comm scenes, you feel like you have to, but I'm not. I intentionally didn't show up dressed up when we interviewed Garland or any of these other people, because that's not what I am.
Yeah, I mean, I put that shit on, but it was still me.
It type shit.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Big on that.
Ugh. The congregation is missing someone. And that someone, dear listener, is you. The congregation awaits you over on our Discord. If you go into the description of this episode right now, there will be a link to join the Head in the Office Discord, where you will find more than 1,000 like-minded individuals for you to interact with. And maybe most importantly, we'll be there.
1,000 members strong. It is a burgeoning community of Hiddo heads.
That's right.
Ready to receive you into their arms. Make you a part of the community. Vest you as a Hiddo head.
Over on Discord, we have discussions. You can interact with other Hiddo heads. And maybe, for some fun, we can do some community events. And we know that you want to be a part of that. Only available over on the official Head in the Office Discord.
Another interview that came out this week was an interview with Channel 5 or Andrew Callahan and Hunter Biden.
Yeah, it's a week of interviews, folks. Lots of media.
So much going on. And no, I did not sit down for the full 3-hour Hunter Biden interview, because frankly, who could? And just like I didn't sit down for the full Nelk Boys interview, but man, I saw clips.
Yeah, and that was low-key like a fluff piece for Hunter Biden.
Oh, absolutely.
Andrew 100%. Callahan was just agreeing with him the whole time. It was weird.
Yeah, but really boy, he's a talker. One, I didn't think he'd sound like that. And two, just Hunter Biden is a figure. Hunter Biden is an enigma.
For sure, dude. To use a
Trump term, exactly. That guy is an enigma. Yeah. I don't understand what makes his mind work, because how can we, in the same interview, talk about how Reconstruction failed post-Civil War, and the failure of Reconstruction created cycles of violence and bigotry that was used against minority communities all the way up until today with modern ICE raids under Donald Trump, and then also talk about cooking bricks in the air fryer? And then in, I guess, damn near the same breath, probably within the same 3 hours, he starts talking about, oh yeah, this is how you cook crack. These are the differences between crack cocaine and just regular crack.
Wait, Hunter Biden broke down like the failures of Reconstruction?
He brought up Reconstruction in the context of creating these violent cycles that lead to us being permissive of ICE raids.
Dude, he could have been like our FDR if he just locked in.
No, that literally, dude could have been something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he will be something. I don't know. But like, that was just so jarring to me. And I didn't stick around to listen to most of the other interview, because a lot of it was just him running defense for his dad. And I'm not about that, because like, Buddy should have dropped out. The Democrats did not.
That was like the premise of the whole thing.
Yeah, the Democrats did not treat him too harshly. In fact, the Democrats did not treat Joe Biden harshly enough in even allowing him to announce a re-election bid. So that just turned me off from even engaging with the rest of it. But man, that note on Reconstruction just really hit home. And then that note on crack just really wow.
Yeah. A lot of like liberal type people were sort of eating this up. There are a lot of people memeing it, of course, which I think it deserves. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's Hunter Biden. Come on.
But there were a lot of people that were like genuinely enjoying it, and I think that to me is just evidence that people are so starved of like real aggression and gumption from the left that they will latch on to anybody they see doing it.
Yeah, well, because he was getting out there and he was just saying things. Yeah. I'm not going to say he was saying it like it is, because like...
Helps that bro has a fat cock, of course.
Shit that was shown all the way up in Congress. It helps that he's known for hookers and blow.
Known for slinging it.
Exactly. Known for dick too long, money too long, swag too hard.
Yeah.
But I digress. He was just somebody who just went out there and he said things in a non-polished way. And nobody else in the Democratic sphere, in the establishment sphere, is even willing to get close to doing that.
And that's what people want.
And you don't have to go out there and talk about cooking crack. You don't have to talk about your previous addiction and whatnot. You just got to get out there and say things, and say them somewhat aggressively.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like, I think that part of it sold with a lot of people, but the part I just can't get on board with, two parts actually, is one, all of the Joe Biden apology that he's doing. It's like, dog, come on. He kept saying like the Democratic Party forced him out. At one point, he like name dropped Pod Save America, and it's like, dog, everyone thought he was too old. Literally everybody thought he was too old. And then the second part is like, Hunter, you are an enormous liability for your dad. And I'm not talking about the drug addiction part, because that's, genuinely a thing that he shouldn't feel ashamed of. A lot of people end up addicted to drugs through no fault of their own, right? But like the going around and like joining the boards of various companies like in China and Ukraine, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, no, really.
And he was asked about that, and he was like, well, I mean, look at what like Don Jr. and Ivanka are doing. Like every child of a president does that. And it's like, yeah, that's bad.
Exactly. We don't fuck with that either.
That's really bad.
You shouldn't have done the Nepo thing. And also, like, all your other baggage doesn't help.
Yeah.
All your other baggage stuff, especially because like you talk about politics, you have to talk about optics, especially when you're dealing with a right wing. Like that doesn't matter.
Like we've talked about the Hunter Biden laptop story a billion times, but like we know that there wasn't evidence suggesting that Joe Biden actually did favors for the companies that Hunter was on the board of, right?
Yeah.
But there is evidence that Hunter tried to have Biden, his father, give sweetheart deals to the companies he was on. And to the extent that happened, Hunter, that's your fault, dog.
The Biden crime family narrative doesn't work without Hunter Biden and his shenanigans.
Dude,
like, you kind of did this one, man. And that's not even the reason that Joe Biden was supposed to step down. That he was just too old.
Yeah, no, your dad just kind of sucked at the end.
Just like let your dad retire.
And I will say throughout that entire interview, unless I missed something, I don't think there was a Gaza question.
Interesting.
And that, like, of course, Biden being too old and inflation were like the main things that broke the Democratic Party. But the thing that initially was tearing the coalition apart was Gaza.
Yeah.
And any conversation of what happened in 2024 is incomplete unless you were willing to talk about how the Democratic Party chose to stay faithful to a nation doing genocide.
Yeah.
You have to be able to talk about that. And the fact that it doesn't come up just shows me that, like, it's not that serious of an interview, but it is an iconic moment on the internet.
I mean, it is.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Like, I just blew my mind that it even happened.
Yeah.
How did you get Hunter Biden? Can we get Hunter Biden?
Maybe we should try.
I know Hitohead's like long episodes. We could really get Hunter Biden on here to talk.
Seems like he'll just talk for hours.
He'll just ramble.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Welcome.
That was a long, cold open.
It was, but necessary.
Necessary, and now we are here for the full episode. Today is July 24th. That's a Thursday.
Yes, it
is.
is.
We're back in the studio bringing you the news. Today we got lots more Epstein news, and I will say, I write my show notes usually a day before and in the morning. And yesterday morning when I was writing my sort of contributions to the show notes on the Epstein stuff, there wasn't that much news.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it was just sort of procedural moves. The big thing was Mike Johnson saying, I'm not going to work for the next 2 months. Which is crazy, and we'll get to that, of course. But then yesterday evening and even into this morning, just bombshell after bombshell after bombshell about Trump.
All of a sudden, everybody's got an Epstein exclusive.
Yeah,
everybody's got a source that's willing to come out now and give people pictures or give people information. And frankly, I'm scared that whatever we talk about is going to be outdated by tomorrow.
And nobody's willing to think about the time in which I work on reporting the news to my audience. Why does nobody think about me?
Exactly. The humble podcaster operating on a bi-weekly schedule.
Yeah,
People need to consider these things when they're dropping news.
Yeah, we'll also be talking a little bit about SCOTUS too, because we absolutely got to. My favorite branch of government.
It's a good institution. It's a good court.
But before we get into that, I'm going to remind you all to become a patron if you want early access, and it really helps us.
It really does help us.
Get us to our goal, by the way.
I saw somebody mention they don't like it. They don't like it. I say, "Grr, I don't like ads." In the in the ad breaks we have for all you people who are on Patreon, and I gotta say, if you don't like that,
yeah, commercials suck, man.
If you don't like that, you know where to go.
You can go and become a patron.
Stop hearing that one.
You can go and become a patron, absolutely. And if we get to our goal, new little reward for those on Patreon. That will be coming in your bi-monthly postcards that we send out.
That's right. That will be sent out probably by the end of next week.
There we go. We got our next round of postcards, but no bonus benefit for the patronage yet because
nobody wants to help us out.
We haven't got there yet.
Nobody fucks with us.
So it's just regular postcard. You can also get some merch at headintheoffice.com. All of our links are down there in the description if you want to follow us on our social medias. And the last way you can support the show,
leave a 5-star
review on Apple.
On Apple and Spotify kind of now.
Yeah, and Spotify a little bit. We've created a monster. We have 1 trillion more reviews to read today from Spotify, I think.
Do we have Apple reviews today?
I don't know.
I think it's 0.
Is it 0? So maybe we just
so maybe Spotify has
Spotifys?
come through and saved us. So I'm thinking we break it down, half Spotify now, half Spotify later.
Okay.
Because there's 10 once again. So I'll start up here with Andrew Molden, another 5 out of 5-star review from me, 51 out of 5 even. The woke mind virus in these boys knows no borders or bounds. It has infected me all the way across the globe in southern Canada, proving their title of #1 geopolitical podcast. The infection has progressed to the point of me paying for early episodes. If you are a believer that good things are good and bad things are bad, then for the love of everything, listen to this podcast. Easily the most entertaining and correct political podcast ever.
Gonna have to agree with that one. Big on that
Big
one.
on
I will say the next comment, this isn't a review, but I do have to read it from Moss. Gage is going to single-handedly alter my vocabulary with heavy on that.
We've already altered your vocabulary. It's already happened. Heavy on that.
Next one from Dead Roaches. Now that Spotify is done silencing my free speech, I can finally leave my 5 out of 5-star review. It's a blessing and an honor to hear my favorite pale-skinned men who would never be on the Epstein list.
That's right.
Talk about good things that are good and bad things that are bad. Alas, the word limit means I can't post my Hito manifesto in full, but know that one day my poor public librarian wages will go towards the Patreon. I condemn Hamas, political violence, and any losers who aren't listening to this pod. Huge.
Heavy on losers. This next one from the Princess of Andersonville. Finally, a 5-star review that will make the show. I firstly condemn Hamas and all political violence, although I am not a white boy from Michigan. These boys are my favorite tertiary news source and bring a little joy and laughter to an otherwise bleak political landscape.
That's what I'm hearing.
In the liberal bastion / active war zone, according to Fox News, of Chicago, I have been able to turn friends and family onto this pod. As someone with lots of Lions fans and Detroiters in my family, y'all give me hope.
Big on the Detroiters. Definitely appreciate that. This next one from R. Bano. I have been living in Spotify squalor for an eternity while the Hito boys grow rich from Apple aristocrats and their 5-star reviews. For far too long, I have been condemning Hamas, political violence, and Jubilee in silence. But I finally have a voice and now must preach the glory of Hito. These white boys come here bi-weekly and deliver objectively correct opinions in a concise, easily digestible, and humorous way. I have more to say, but free speech only lasts for 500 characters. 5 out of 5 stars.
Real. Yeah, I'm a big fan of limits on free speech. We'll talk about that later, in fact.
I'm in favor of limiting free speech.
This last one for now, until we read the rest at the end of the episode from Theoden King. 5 out of 5. Sick of watching establishment types gleefully slide to the right while they always have energy to chastise anyone to their left. Vote blue no matter who, as long as they're the right color and moderate. Am I right?
Truth.
And one more thing on Schultz. He's definitely a political commentator now because he's never been a comedian. Comedians are supposed to be funny. That's real.
Did you see that in the episode they dropped today, the guest is Ezra Klein?
No way.
And their audience in the comments is complaining. They're like, every single episode is about politics now.
Yeah. Well, because he's like a loser who took all the attack. Like, you can't enter the realm of politics and expect to just be able to like dip your toe in and dip your toe out, especially in a time like this where things are so contentious. And when you didn't Flagrant have Trump on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you have Trump on, you're doing the most contentious thing that you can do, apparently, other than having Netanyahu on, now that that's even a possibility. But I digress. You can't expect to not get backlash from that. And it's like they thought they could just get in here, get the views, get the clicks, get out, go back to their regular everyday things without people holding them accountable for their me when I'm held accountable for my actions.
No, man, too many people think they're just entitled to post their political views on the internet and not get blowback.
Exactly.
Like, but talking about politics does take a certain kind of temperament. You have to be able to like handle criticism. And again, I'm not saying that to gas myself up, but just to say that like the core of politics is critique.
Yeah.
Is analyzing things and making critiques and trying to figure out what the most, at least to me, the core of politics is trying to figure out what the most moral arrangement of power is in society. And if you're going to go out and do dumb shit, I'm going to say you're doing dumb shit, and I'm going to speak truth. And you shouldn't just like get upset at the fact that people are criticizing you.
You know how many people get in our comments and say we're doing dumb shit?
Yeah.
And saying dumb shit and spewing dumb shit?
Yeah, imagine if we got criticism and I was like, well, I'm not going to support people in Gaza if you keep talking to me like that.
No, literally.
That's ridiculous.
Wow, really? You really brought me onto your side now. Now I'm going to have a bunch of figures from the other side on to teach me about politics. Because that's a whole other side about this whole like podcasters, platforming, and politics like thing going on right now. Yep. Is that these people don't know anything. These people don't know anything.
That's true.
They have these massive political figures on, and they have them teach them about politics as if they're unbiased sources that can teach them how to critical think without doing their own propaganda. It's the same thing with the Nelk boys and Netanyahu, and it's the same thing with Andrew Schultz and having all these people on now. Andrew Schultz is having like, sure, he's having Bernie Sanders on, Ezra Klein, he's having Pete Buttigieg on, and like a couple other people. But still, at the end of the day, he's like, why are you guys mean to me? And then he gets to why are you guys mean to me? I think some of your policies are stupid. And then you get the Trump guys on and he's like, oh, the deportations are going to do that right?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just seems like he just kind of agrees with whoever comes on.
It's the Joe Rogan strategy.
And it's just kind of like, first of all, how do people watch this? This is just fucking nauseating. But also, like, I don't know, you could try believing in something. It's not that bad to have beliefs that you stand.
It's actually by. Like a more interesting conversation when you don't fully agree with the person sitting across from you.
Yeah. There's just no sense of like responsibility for these dudes. And I don't want to be corny and, you know, again, drop the fucking Uncle Ben line. But Jesus Christ, you have millions of people that watch you. You know, like I do think that there's a level of responsibility you should have for what you put out to your audience. Especially because we know most of them are kind of just like unthinking drones.
Exactly.
If you're listening to Andrew Schultz.
Like the host, man. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's something.
I think we could probably finish out these Spotify reviews real quick.
You know what? Let's give a gift to our Spotify listeners since the Apple listeners didn't fuck with us this week.
This one from Uni, another 5 out of 5 star classic. Of course I condemn Hamas on all forms of political violence. I'm not a big podcast person, but I've made an exception for you guys. I thank you for helping me stay politically informed in a way that doesn't involve me doom scrolling and having tons of anxiety attacks. My sister recently started dating a guy named Gage, who was bald and a Republican.
Fucked up.
So I needed to warn this Gage about his evil doppelganger roaming the world. Anyways, can't wait for the next episode. They got evil Gage out there.
They got evil Gage running around somewhere. Also, balding, not bald. Thank you. Thank you. I got a summer buzz on. That's what's going on. It's a look it's in right now.
Evil Gage be like Medicare for all, Medicare for nobody.
Exactly. Evil Gage be like Mike Johnson. Evil Gage, waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what's going on there. Man, this next one from Aspen Jackson. After lurking for a while since my beautiful wife, Danielle Jackson, who is a patron, by the way, I've decided to leave a 5-star review. I try to spread the Hiddo gospel as much as I can from the state where corn sweat is annual. Iowa, I used to be a conservative since that's all I knew, but my wife fixed me. I started listening a few months back and have not missed an episode. And of course, I condemn all political violence and Hamas. By the way, what's your guys' favorite Pokemon? That's got to be Trico or Greninja.
I'm going to gatekeep.
gatekeep.
I'm gonna gatekeep. I will say,
this guy's acting like Nelk boys on the fucking Netanyahu interview, not doing anything.
That's the last review we got in the comments for this time. But there is a comment saying, "Can you guys redo the Patreon commercial because they think it's cringe?"
The "Grr, I hate commercials." That's the one I was alluding to.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, like Gage said earlier, there's a way to get rid of those commercials.
There's one enduring way to never have to listen to a commercial that you think is cringe again on this show.
That's right. There are no commercials on Patreon.
And speaking to the other of you talking about doom scrolling, anti-doom scrolling podcast over here when we drop 100-minute episodes.
I joy scroll. I'm gleeful with what
I joy scroll and listen to long-form content.
That's
what's
right.
going on.
I hate commercials.
Me too.
I hate listening to them. I hate when I hear them, whether it's on TV or on podcasts.
Grr, I just can't stand commercials. They're
the worst. And the one place you can go to avoid commercials, like this one you're listening to right now, is patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Become a patron, and you get early access to our episodes, and they're all completely commercial-free. No more interruptions.
And you could be one of our friends.
And that's arguably the more important point.
And, in trying times like this, friendship is what we really need.
Friendship's really important. And you can buy your way into being a friend of ours by heading over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Again, early access to episodes, no commercials, access to all of our content before anyone else sees it. Become a patron. It's time to finally get into the news, though.
Yeah, it is.
We've been yapping for too long.
We gotta talk about Epstein once again.
I need my script in front of me.
Again, the guy that never died.
Oh my God, man. Why are you guys still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
The story that the Democrats just keep shoving in people's faces, even though nobody really cares, right, guys? Am I right?
Nobody really gives a fuck. Every day's another beautiful secret, of course. But I think we got to get into the Epstein files here. I have them. They're on my desk waiting for review.
Pam Bondi told me my name was in them, so I'm not releasing them.
Yeah, some of this is a little bit bunk now because of all the bombshells we got. But I figure we could still take you through what my thought process was before the Wall Street Journal dropped another banger.
Break down how we got here. Take you through the timeline.
So at first there was no real Epstein news for this episode, other than the only news was that there wasn't news and the Trump administration was trying to distract us with a bunch of fucking nonsense. They kept good on one of their promises about releasing classified files, but these ones were on Martin Luther King's assassination rather than Jeffrey Epstein.
Out of nowhere.
Apparently more than 200,000 files were released from the National Archive, likely offering no real insight because we know the FBI killed Martin Luther King.
Oh my God,
I mean? It's a distraction. And the distraction worked so little that I believe Bernice King, which is I think MLK Jr.'s daughter, said or immediately tweeted out after this happened, "Now do the Epstein files." Nobody gives a fuck.
It couldn't have been a coincidence.
Yeah.
It was not a coincidence. There's nothing in your mind should point to oh yeah, they were just releasing this today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
when they're getting burned so hard about the files, no.
Another great distraction was Trump accusing Obama of treason for the 2016 Russia election interference shenanigans. Not going to get into this because I don't care.
Yes. Is this when he posted the AI video of Obama getting arrested in the White House? Corny boomer.
Once again, I'm left asking, what is the actual use case for artificial intelligence? Is it just for this shit? Yeah. Just for the president to make fucking corny jokes on the internet?
The worst video you've ever seen?
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's boring. Nobody cares. But also, it is just true that Russia interfered in the election in 2016, right? Yeah. It's people went to jail.
Or at least tried to interfere in the election, even if it wasn't substantive.
People tried. I don't think there's evidence that they changed votes or anything like that. It's that's done. There's no reason to relitigate this other than to distract, of course, from Trump's really good friend, Jeffrey Epstein.
And didn't Trump say in an interview, you talk about this, I'm going to talk about Obama, blah, blah, blah. And it's, he only brought up Obama. He hasn't been talking about Obama, throughout the campaign trail like he used to. It's only now that he's under fire for the Epstein stuff. It's Obama wrote the list, and also Obama's the real criminal here. Brother, Obama was not indicted and convicted on multiple nefarious charges.
Obama was not old enough to be invited to the Epstein stuff.
Real.
He was not. And I mean, as an adult. I'm not.
He wasn't popping in politics at the time.
Exactly.
He wasn't a person who needed power brokered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we got those two things. The Trump administration continues to try to distract us. And then the next thing that we got was Mike Johnson said that the Republican-run House of Representatives is going to go home for 6 weeks because they don't want to take a vote on the Epstein files.
Traditionally, they go home for all of August.
Yeah.
They're taking extra time off. The one thing on the docket was like Ro Khanna forcing votes on the Epstein files. I think it's very obvious what's happening here.
Yeah, no, it is entirely clear. I mean, 6 weeks. They're not coming back until September.
And it's crazy because it's like they're going to take 6 weeks to just go and strategize about how to deal with the Epstein situation.
Yes.
And they're still going to come back in September with the same problems because whatever they come up with isn't going to matter. There's not a thing that they could come up with that could fucking climb the mountain that people hate them.
Yeah, and if Trump's in the files, Trump is in the files.
Yeah, it's just
and
there.
As we'll talk about, his name is in there, and his DOJ told him as much. But like, if Trump's name is in the files, there is no like altering course. There's no like covering your ass that you can do at this point, especially because now everyone's looking at this move and thinking like, oh, they're hiding something for sure.
And there's nothing you can say that can make people forget about the files. There's nothing you can say that can make people forget about what you've been doing for like the last month, what's happened since 2019, what's happened since the 90s when it comes to Epstein as a whole. It's firmly planted in people's memories. The best thing that they could have done is just never bring it up.
Yeah, like you have a full week of work left. And you say the entire House of Representatives is going home.
See, I'm just taking it off.
Like we're not coming back till September. Don't ask me for anything. That's crazy.
I wish.
Yeah, no,
I wish I could take work off like that.
When he was questioned about this, Speaker Mike Johnson said, quote, "There's no purpose for Congress to push an administration to do something that they're already doing. And so this is for political games. I'm very resolute on this. We can both call for full transparency and also protect the victims. And if you run roughshod or you do it too quickly, that's not what happens."
Once again, not a single person wants the victims' names released. Not a single person wants anything that had to do with the victims released other than the people who victimized them. People just want to know what rich and powerful people did that was bad.
Yeah, people want justice.
That's it.
People just want justice. And like, I can't believe that this is really the only defense they have of themselves, is that it's going to take more time. I know Trump is calling it a hoax actively and saying anybody that cares about it right now is a weakling or whatever.
Well, he constantly says X doesn't exist, and then 2 days later, yeah, X exists, but it doesn't matter actually.
And it's a Democrat hoax.
And it's the Democrats that did that. Like, he's constantly saying things don't matter, things don't exist, then things prove that they exist, and then he's like, well, actually, it's like not real, it's still fake.
Yeah. Like the official government, like state line here, the official state narrative is that releasing the files now would re-victimize the victims.
No.
We just want to know the perpetrators. Yes. That's it. The DOJ can compile a list of the perpetrators. That's what we want. And you are actively preventing that from happening, which makes you look pretty guilty. Makes you not look very good. The other thing that Mike Johnson has been saying is essentially doing like an appeal to hypocrisy, saying that like Democrats didn't call for the release of the Epstein files under Joe Biden, so the only reason they're calling for it now is to like make Republicans look bad. But even with that argument, why would it make you look bad?
Exactly.
Like, why would calling for the release under Trump make you look bad if he's not in the files?
Oh, because they're following procedure. That's what it is. They're just making strict adherence to procedure, trying to follow all the rules to get this information out, because eventually it'll come out, right? That's what's happening.
And I will note, appeal to hypocrisy, that's a logical fallacy.
And also, Joe Biden didn't run his campaign on releasing the Epstein files. Joe Biden did what he was told by the donors that gave him money that were involved with Epstein to not talk about Epstein. And so he didn't.
Yeah. And like, again, the only logical conclusion from this argument is that both sides are implicated. That's why Biden didn't release it. That's why Trump doesn't want to release it.
It's either both sides are implicated or Ezra Klein is right and nobody was implicated and the Epstein pedophile stuff was completely separate from the Epstein power broker stuff.
Ezra Klein is changing his mind because of this move to shut down Congress or to shut down the House. Yeah. Well, on the beginning of the Flagrant podcast that I was watching, because it's my favorite podcast now, Ezra Klein is on there and he was like, I thought that most of it could be explained away until Mike Johnson went to shut down the House.
That's the most like sissy fucking liberal way to turn around on the Epstein thing. Like something about that pisses me off. Actually,
we have known for the pictures of Trump with Epstein have been around for decades,
since 2019. We've known since Jeffrey Epstein got indicted that Trump was involved in it. He got indicted under Trump's presidency. Everybody was talking about this back then. There were fucking documentary on documentaries that came out. We been knew what was going on, and you're telling me that the one thing that's changing your mind is Mike Johnson taking another extra week off?
Yeah,
like no, man. These are things that add nod to like their guilt, not things that prove their guilt. The needle should have been shifted a while ago.
Yeah.
If you're actually paying attention and actually care. I don't know what new donor message came from the top down that got Ezra Klein to be like, well, maybe this is actually a thing, but it must have been crazy.
Like we've known we've been saying for the entire life of this podcast that the reason that nobody releases the Epstein files is because they're implicated in the Epstein files. Yeah. And that applies to the Republican Party as well. But like at the very, like if that's not convincing to you, fine, whatever. I think that's silly. But like when the House first took the vote in committee to not allow the Epstein resolution to move forward, why was that not enough evidence for you? Or when Trump started calling it a Democrat hoax despite him running and winning on the issue, why was that not enough evidence? Like there's so much smoke here. The Mike Johnson thing adds to the smoke, but we already knew there was a fire.
You were seeing it. It's literally right in front of you.
Yeah.
He must have been turned around.
Not to mention from like a political angle, you put aside like what's actually in the files because we don't know, we might not ever know. From a political angle, this is the biggest wedge between Trump and his base ever.
This could get the guy impeached.
Yeah.
Like if there's anything that could get Trump impeached and removed, it's this.
Exactly.
The backlash is simply too big, dude. People on the Valuetainment podcast were yelling at each other this week about the Epstein files. One of the dudes was running defense for Trump and was saying like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It all happened a billion years ago anyway, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Dude, I think that same guy before that was like, is it really worth it if it means Trump is going to like, get kicked out of power or whatever?
That makes it way more worth it, actually, if Trump is going to get kicked out of power.
This dude loves killing brown people so much that he will let a pedophile be the president.
Yes.
Like, that's crazy.
It's insane. Like, the base is legitimately fracturing in front of our eyes. Yeah. Like, there is so much right-wing infighting happening. And you're like, oh, actually, it's the extra week off of Congress that's doing it for me.
Yeah.
That's come on.
And, I don't know. It's stupid. It's these guys that always pretend to know, like, political strategy best. The fact that they don't see that this is a wedge the Democrats should be actively trying to exploit, or at least a little tap on the wedge in between the base and Trump. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking.
The craziest thing is, as we talk right now, and as you, dear listener, are listening to this episode right now, there are focus groups happening about what the Democrats should do. Like, there are focus groups happening run by a consultant that's paid like $20,000 an hour to figure out how they should respond to the Epstein situation. And that's why you don't see people like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer yelling about this as much as they should be. That's why we don't have Democrats going crazy about this, or at least the ones that aren't as close to the establishment as those guys. Because they're trying to focus group it. They're trying to figure out a way that they can just hit on Donald Trump and his connections without eventually spilling over to get an actual release of the files, because they don't want that, because then they'll lose their money fountain. They'll piss off the people that they look up to, Bill Clinton and Nancy Pelosi and whatnot. So they're trying to figure out a way to navigate it because they can't catch a vibe. It's a combination of Democrats can't catch a vibe and they're complicit in evil.
Wickedness and weakness.
And weakness. It's a wicked combination when you get those two together.
I saw a poll, I think, last week that was like after the poll was taken after the Epstein controversy, and I think approval among Republicans for Donald Trump's performance went up like 2 points or something like that. And a lot of people were making a big deal of this and using it as a way to say like the Epstein thing isn't actually as big as we think it is. First of all, I think people will move away from Trump slowly over time, right? Yes. It's a sort of war of attrition when it comes to getting rid of or decreasing a president's approval rating numbers. It takes time for that to happen.
Especially when we see people actively decouple Trump's policy from Trump's position on Epstein right now. Like, that is where the infighting is happening, and people saying like, even if he is on this list, maybe it is better for the country to have Donald Trump. That's where that comes from.
And at the same time, it's like I wouldn't expect approval rating among Republicans to immediately tank for Trump on this issue, because I think people still, for the most part, trust him on the Republican side and are just sort of waiting to see what happens. Like, especially when you compare him to like the Democratic Party. Like, of course, Republicans that have supported Trump, even though they might desperately want the Epstein files out, or they might have been told by people like Dan Bongino that it's this like crisis that will expose the deep state and the Democrat mob and liberal cabal or whatever that's running the world, they still might think that Trump is going to do something good on this issue. But as he continues to run away and put distractions in front of this issue, or as eventually maybe he's exposed, I think that the base will continue to crumble. It just takes time.
And it's also like this whole situation popped off like 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
Like that's when it came out that Pam Bounty's like, actually, there's no more Epstein file releases and whatnot. That's when people started to get mad. The worst of the information hasn't started coming out until like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
We didn't get that letter until last week. And then we didn't get them doubling down, calling it a Democrat-run hoax until like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. That's really what's making people mad. And it's going to take time for polls to be able to actually get in and ask people questions and reflect that. Mm-hmm. We just have to wait and see if you're taking it on polling. And that's the whole problem. It goes back to what I'm talking about. There's a focus group right now talking about how they should handle the Epstein situation. You shouldn't have to go and do polls to figure out what people think about the Epstein situation and Trump and how they feel about him. You should be able to go out into the world and catch a vibe.
Yeah.
The Epstein thing is like unifying beyond party lines. Of course, there are people in Trump's coalition that are upset with him. We are watching people break from supporting him. Go on any conservative dominated place online and you will see that the conversation is all about whether or not Trump is a swamp monster.
Everybody thinks the government's corrupt. Yes. Literally everybody thinks the government's corrupt.
Especially conservatives getting on here talking about how they don't trust the government. I saw a conservative called into like Glenn Beck. Sounded like this dude was about to cry. Talk about how he's like, I knew you can't trust the government, but I thought we could trust President Donald Trump, but all this Epstein stuff's making me question everything now. Mm-hmm. Conservatives are the most untrustworthy of the government. Of course, they are going to want to flip when something like this happens. Yeah. The Epstein case is the personification of all the reasons why you shouldn't trust the government and powerful people, all rolled up into like one thing with a bow on it. And that bow is actually wrapped around like 200,000 files on Pam Bondi's desk that she's refusing to release.
300 gigabytes.
300 gigabytes of data. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, and like all of this fallout, all of this controversy, all of the struggle that Trump is having right now, and not a single file has been released. Mm-hmm. No evidence whatsoever has been released yet. So that's how you know that this is a major, major issue for this administration, and Democrats should be trying to exploit that.
Yeah.
Like do politics, man.
Like we said on Monday, like they have files. They have portions of the investigation that never made it to court, that were like never submitted as evidence that they could release without having to worry about this grand jury stuff. Because we talked about on Monday, they moved to petition the judge to unseal grand jury testimony. Judge said no.
Judge said no, yeah.
Judge just flat out said no. He didn't even say, I'm going to release parts of this and redact the rest. He just said, no, your request isn't strong enough for how sensitive this information is. Mm-hmm. So that's a cop-out for them.
Yeah,
that's a cop-out for them.
Well, that's judicial tyranny.
They knew that was going to happen, but you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to press. Exactly. They're not going to press the judge to get things released. They're not going to try again. They're not going to keep trying. They're going to say, our hands are tied. Mm-hmm. We can't go about this. We can't do anything about this. They're telling me, no, it's the judge's fault to actually be mad at them. Don't be mad at me for not doing all the things that I could do to release this information.
Yeah, the best take I'd seen on this recently is that the Republican Party is treating their voters like the Democratic Party treats their voters. And saying like, oh, there's just these procedural rules in the way. I can't release this. I can't do this for you because of X, Y, and Z, man.
Guys, you don't understand the red tape. I can't cancel student loan debt. They're doing the Joe Biden student loan debt to the Epstein case.
Yeah. Yeah, but even Biden tried harder than they've tried.
Yeah.
That's good, man. It does seem like there's only a matter of time before we get at least something, though. A congressional committee subpoenaed testimony from Ghislaine Maxwell recently. Mm-hmm. Maxwell has so much to gain from this.
Yes. No, that's...
a pardon, maybe.
That's the analysis here, because like they've subpoenaed testimony. The DOJ, like getting testimony from Ghislaine Maxwell, she's got to meet with them before she meets with Congress and whatnot. Yeah. She has the world to gain, and Trump has the world to lose.
Yeah.
Who has the power in this situation? Genuinely, who has the power here? Yeah. Trump can give her a pardon, get her out of her 20-year prison sentence, and all she has to do is lie, perjure herself in front of Congress. Who doesn't perjure themselves in front of Congress?
That's honestly like relative to her other crimes. That's nothing.
That's exactly.
Damn near good. Damn near like a not even bad thing to do compared to what she's done before.
No, literally, a pedophile queen. The pedophile queen. Oh no, she perjured herself. Oh no, she lied in front of Congress. Whatever.
The emissary of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, that's all she has to lose. Like all she has to do is get out there, lie in front of Congress, say that Donald Trump wasn't involved in the Epstein files, and then she gets a pardon. And it's like, that's where this will go. And that's kind of how we know. This is the Ghislaine Maxwell testimony in front of Congress is a catch-22 for the Trump administration, because honestly, no matter what she does, there's no way that she gets out of this without us still pointing our fingers at Trump. Yep. And I don't say that in like a cynical way, like blah, blah, blah. No matter what she says, it's still true that he was on the list, no matter how credible it is. because she has so much to gain and Trump has so much to lose.
Yeah.
She gets in there, she perjures herself in front of Congress. If she walks away with any sort of sweetheart deal, in any sort of reduction in her sentence, in anything that could make her life better from her conversations with the DOJ, and Trump walks away with his name not on that list, that's damning.
Yep.
You can't walk away from the fact that that's damning. Yeah. And we already know that she has a history of running cover for Epstein's rich and powerful clients because she ran cover for Prince Andrew. He was like one of the most prolifically involved initially, like when what we heard about, like the conversation was about Prince Andrew going to Little St. James all the time. She's done this before, and she signaled that she's willing to do this again.
Yeah.
And if she gets up there and she just pleads the fifth, what does that tell you?
Exactly, yeah.
If she pleads the fifth and refuses to answer if Trump's on the list, we literally know that he's on the list then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was that, I think, was it like 2010 deposition where somebody asked Epstein in the deposition, like, have you and Donald Trump ever like hung out together in front of a woman or a girl that's younger than 18 years old? And he was like, I'm going to have to plead the fifth on that. And it's like, of course, pleading the fifth isn't in self-incriminating.
Exactly.
But like, why though? You know what I mean? But
why on that? But like, I will use it against people who have done the worst things ever.
Oh, of course. Well, because we know he's evil.
Because it's like pleading the fifth exists so that like people who have been beaten up by society and reacted in negative ways, who maybe can't afford proper legal representation, don't incriminate themselves. And obviously that still extends to the rich and powerful in the world that do the most evil things. That's not just like, I don't know, shoplifting or robbery or something like that. But like,
yeah, but like, why though?
When you're the pedophile guy and you're like, I'm gonna plead the fifth on whether or not my friend was involved with minors with me. I don't know, man.
We know you're guilty.
We know you're guilty, and you got murdered for it.
Yep.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, you killed yourself for it. It's pretty obvious.
But yeah, with Ghislaine Maxwell, that we have a scenario where if she gets a pardon or something, or a commutation or something like that, after she says Trump's not in the files, that makes Trump look bad. And obviously, if she goes in front of Congress and says Trump is in the files, that's going to make him look bad.
Yeah.
There's no way out of this for him.
No. The only way out of this...
closing in on Donald Trump.
The only way out of this is to somehow release the files and Trump's name isn't in there. And how he's acting, that's not a reality that exists, man. It's not. Because, again, I keep hammering home this point. It's either there's a list that has a bipartisan group of people who engaged in sex crimes, or there is no list at all.
Yeah.
And if there's no list at all, they never would have ran on this, because Trump knew from Trump 1 that there's a list.
Yeah.
And obviously there's not a literal list where Jeffrey Epstein wrote down X person came on X day and did X thing.
Yeah, of course.
But there's testimony, there's evidence, there's witnesses that said, like, there's a lot going on to point fingers at a lot of different people. And that's what people want to know. That's what the Epstein files are. That's what the list refers to.
Well, yeah, there's 300 gigabytes of data.
300 gigabytes of like Word docs.
And even, Word docs, videos, of course, which, you know, terrible stuff. But we know that the DOJ has enough to at least bring indictments against some of the people who participated in these crimes. We know this to be true. They haven't done it, so it suggests that they are covering for people or something like that. And the way that Trump is reacting so dramatically makes everybody think that he's guilty. Because, like, yeah. Because, like, if he wasn't in the file, and, like, usually, I wouldn't be in favor of saying, like, this person's acting guilty, therefore they have something to hide, right? But this is the president of the United States. It's the president, and a friend of Jeffrey Epstein.
And a friend of the guy who, like, did something guilty. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's not like this is some guy who has been randomly accused of some random crime.
Yeah.
This is a guy who was friends. This is a guy who, it was reported that he had a party with just him and Jeffrey Epstein where 24 young girls were flew in just for them to party with.
Yeah.
And that's maybe not incriminating in of itself, but I think it speaks to the kind of relationship that they had. And I think it speaks to what other kinds of relationship they could have, i.e. Epstein Island and the bad things that were going on there. Like, when your friend kills somebody and you were driving them around that night, I don't know. I don't know. You got a tough case to climb, to fight against, to prove you're innocent there.
I mean, the only ways out of the Ghislaine Maxwell thing is either don't let her testify, or maybe she'll kill herself with 2 bullets in the back of the head. Exactly. That could happen too. So we'll see how this transpires. The other thing that Trump has to be worried about is that Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie have this bipartisan resolution that is going to force the release of the files, that is just waiting for a vote. It's one of the reasons that Mike Johnson said everyone needs to get out of D.C. right now.
Well, he's got to whip votes, and he's going to have a really hard time time whipping votes over these next 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's not going to happen until September, so we'll see what the fuck happens in between now and then. But as for the stuff that we just got, like, literally 24 hours ago, there's some bombshells. So first one's from the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal essentially released a story detailing how Trump has known since May that his name is in the Epstein files. And Pam Bondi as well has known since May. They're like, hey, dog, she told him, hey, dog, you are in these files.
Which is just like...
I have a quote from the story here. Quote, when the Justice Department officials reviewed what Attorney General Pam Bondi called a truckload of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein earlier this year, they discovered that Donald Trump's name appeared multiple times, according to senior administration officials. In May, Bondi and her deputy informed the president at a meeting in the White House that his name was in the Epstein files, the officials said. Many other high-profile figures were also named, Trump was told. Being mentioned in the records isn't a sign of wrongdoing. That last sentence is just to cover their bases.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, it is technically true.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people that are mentioned in relation, hopefully Noam Chomsky. There are a lot of people that are mentioned in relation to Jeffrey Epstein that didn't necessarily do the pedophile island stuff. There is some truth to the idea that the power broking may have been separate from the pedophilia, but there's a strong overlap. The Venn diagram is damn near a circle, but it's not quite.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
with all of the things that Trump has said about Epstein, that Trump has been pictured doing with Epstein, that Trump has just been around Epstein doing, it's been reported on that he's done with Epstein.
Dude, the birthday card, like, come on, man. That shit was like, crazy. We share may every day be a wonderful secret.
Come on,
that's
brother.
Crazy.
Come on, brother. Every single thing here is lining up to incriminate you.
Mm-hmm. It also means that Trump is caught in a red-handed lie here, because about a week and a half ago, he was asked by a reporter if Pam Bondi told him that his name appears in the files, and Trump, of course, said no.
Nice.
So it appears, if you can believe it, the liar lied about this, and his name is indeed in the files, as everybody suspects.
Well, I assume this is a liberal hoax.
Oh, well, of course.
It's either the liberals planted the story at the Wall Street Journal, or the liberals did the hoax by planting the documents on Pam Bondi's desk that she then reported to Trump in a meeting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be one of
James
those two.
Comey broke into the White House and put the files on the desk.
Speaking of hoaxes, speaking of left-wing outlets doing fake news, CNN's K-File also dropped a bombshell with multiple unearthed photos of Jeffrey Epstein and Trump. These dudes just hung out.
No, absolutely. I was getting
insane amount.
I was getting ready for bed last night, and I'm just like scrolling through a little bit, and all of a sudden I see like 12 minutes ago Jeffrey Epstein pictured at Trump's wedding, Trump's second wedding. Brother.
Yeah, so there's some photos from Trump's 1993 wedding to Marla Maples where Jeffrey Epstein was there. There's some other photos from a 1999 fashion event where Trump and Epstein were pictured together. And there's some other images from the 2000s that include like Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew, Trump, and all of them just like hanging out having a great time. Trump got very angry about this on the phone, which again I think speaks to the suspicion here. Like Trump apparently said some shit like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me," and then called CNN fake news, then hung up.
Nice.
Which is just like,
so Trump.
You don't react like that if there's nothing here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So crazy. These guys loved hanging out together. They had a great time.
Like you invited him to your second wedding, dog.
Yeah. At every single turn, like Trump seems to be associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and at every single turn, it becomes more and more suspicious that like these connections.
Which is like he keeps saying he doesn't like that guy. That guy was a creep, and yeah, maybe they had a falling out in like the mid 2000s or whatever.
Right.
But it's like every turn, there's a new piece of evidence that comes out to show that you guys were best friends.
Yeah, he genuinely fucked with Jeffrey Epstein.
Every new picture that comes out is a picture of him and you at an event, at events that somehow get more and more intimate. Come on.
Yeah. And pair that with all just like the weird shit Trump has said about young girls in the past.
Yes.
Like there was reports of him saying some shit to like a 16-year-old or something, like in a few years you'll be my girlfriend and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just bizarre stuff,
the
man.
beauty pageant stuff where he's talking about like walking through the locker room or some shit like that.
Genuinely like irredeemable stuff.
And he is a predator.
Yeah.
Like,
well, of course.
He's a convicted predator.
Held liable for it.
So
like
exactly.
we know he's evil. Evil man do evil things.
Precisely. And it's like you got somebody who's been convicted on multiple counts of like bad things. You got somebody who's a sex pest, like by the court's definition of what it is.
Of course.
I don't think it takes too much of a leap to say that, okay, he's a sex pest in this area. Maybe he engaged in sex pestery with the sex pest that was his best friend.
Yeah, the world's biggest sex pest. So that's all we got on Epstein for this week. We'll see what else next week has for us. Congress is gone as of today.
Yeah, so I guess there's going to be no fucking news. Not like they were doing anything anyway.
No, they weren't doing a whole lot. They passed the bill, the big budget, and then killed a bunch of people, and now they're covering for Epstein, and now they left.
Yeah, they were damn near already on vacation, but now they made it official just so that they could whip votes against releasing the Epstein files. That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait till all this stuff comes out about all the people who voted no to release it.
I've been wondering like if this thing's just gonna kind of blow over like other controversies tend to do for Trump.
Yeah.
But like every single day is something new. Exactly. And I'm like, fuck, dude, can this blow over for Trump? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, every time I think I'm out of commentary for the Epstein situation, and then wedding pictures.
Rupert Murdoch from half court.
Rupert Murdoch like fucking Caitlin Clark back there nailing a 3. Oh my goodness. And then, like the birthday letter?
Yeah, the birthday letter. That's crazy. Wall Street Journal has been cooking.
What a nail in the coffin.
I wonder if Murdoch is like mad at Trump or something like that.
Probably. He's probably been sent out. He probably had a letter in there too. Yeah. That's also, how it leaked.
Fucking Merrick Garland's been sitting on this information for years.
Yeah.
Worst person of all time.
Yeah, he sucks.
He
did not do his job in any capacity, any time.
He dropped the ball bigly.
Maybe I would say maybe it's good that he didn't get put on the Supreme Court since he sucks so bad. Mm-hmm. But I would just like to have the number.
Yeah.
The number would be nice that these decisions were 5-4 and not 6-3.
Yeah, speaking of these decisions.
And speaking of 6-3 decisions and just the Supreme Court in general, we got to talk about a decision that sort of flew under the radar at the end of the last term. This came out like late June, but we missed it because, guys, a lot's been going on. Mm-hmm. We had the big, beautiful bill. We got Epstein. We had so much going on. Yeah. But the Supreme Court ruled that public schools must allow parents to opt their kids out of any sessions, out of any lessons that may impede their religious development.
Religious development, something that the state should be prioritizing.
Yes. And this is as dumb and stupid and bad as it sounds. Yeah. Anytime you get a case that's about like opting out of lessons in schools and about like anytime you hear parental rights or like religious freedom when it comes to school, you know it's going to be the most insane thing you've ever heard. Yeah. And this has been an enduring principle since Ron DeSantis and his 2022 shenanigans.
I do think the core of this, like the parental rights activist people, is just this fear that they have, this thing that they're terrified about, which is their kid growing up to not like their politics. Like these parents these people that go out and are like parental rights activists are mortified at the idea that their kid might be different from them
in any way.
They're like deathly afraid of this.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
I mean, in cases like this, it's because they're afraid that their young boy is going to grow up to kiss boys. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is, because it's like the whole case spawned out of a Maryland school district's policy that did not allow parents to opt their kids out of the language arts curriculum, which included some LGBTQ books and resources. That's all it is. They got the Supreme Court to basically rule that you can shelter your kid from the existence of gay people.
Yeah.
As long as it's in school.
I don't see how this serves a compelling state interest in any real way.
And I don't see how this serves a compelling like religious freedom interest in any way too. You know what I mean? It's like your freedom to express your religion does not supersede someone's freedom to exist and be seen as a queer person in society.
Yeah.
You can't opt out of seeing a gay person on the street.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, nor should you be able to.
Of course.
And because of that, you shouldn't be able to go and opt out of your kid being exposed to a storybook with two dads.
Yeah, and it also, in this comes a question of like degrees, right?
Yeah.
Like if they can opt out of storybooks that contain, I don't know, two dudes kissing or two dudes being in love or something like that, why wouldn't they be able to opt out of like being taught about evolution in biology class?
Well, because that goes against
scripture as well. Like there's a number of things that you will be taught that don't align with your religion because, quite frankly, your religion's probably a little stupid.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't those be included in this ruling as well?
Yeah, no, real shit. Some beliefs are stupid.
Straight up, yeah.
Because this isn't just not seeing two dads. This is young Earth creationism. This is people who believe the Earth was created 6,000 years ago. This is anti-evolution. That's you can opt your kid out of biology class. You can opt your kid out of any fucking science class with this fucking ruling. And you can ultimately focusing back in on the LGBTQ stuff. This is tantamount to like LGBTQ erasure.
Of course.
That's ultimately what this would function to move towards, especially in a society where we're seeing so much right-wing extremism on the rise, and most of that has been particularly religious. We see guys like on Jubilee arguing as Mehdi Hassan saying that they are fascists and it's because they're Catholic. Despite not fucking with the woke Pope, which is you're not a Catholic.
I mean, white Christian nationalism has like been a growing threat over many years. And of course that is a fascist movement. Like, and it's like it all ties in together. It's
also just going to set your kid back. Not that people who have these fringe beliefs are worried about setting their kids back because they think that the world is evil and they're the only good ones. Your kid should engage with diverse people because they will grow up to live in a diverse and multicultural world.
Yeah. And the thing about this is, like, when it comes to literature, when it comes to learning about the existence of LGBTQ people, they're a real thing in the real world.
Yes.
Like, there's no indoctrination happening here. Like, the teacher's not telling your kid to be gay or whatever the fuck that would even look like. But, like, it's just like these people exist, and there's plenty of literature, media, studying, analysis of the existence of these people. You're in school to learn, so let's learn.
Yeah.
Like, these people do exist. I don't see why you'd be able to opt out of your kid learning that these people exist.
And it's also like, just again, like, this does not stop at just queer people. Does this mean you can opt your child out of any curriculum that depicts a relationship between two young people who aren't married? Like, it's just, there is no functional end when it comes to what can be perceived as, I guess, like, against your religion. Because religious freedom is so broad, which it should be, because I fuck with the religious freedom broadly. I just don't fuck with what these policies are, because ultimately what this SCOTUS decision is it's not something that's protecting your First Amendment right to religious expression. It's something that's perverting the First Amendment so that instead of protecting a person's right to express their religion, it's in a roundabout way enforcing religious doctrine on every other kid, because teachers cannot tailor their curriculum to every different student who has every different background going on, especially when we're dealing with something so banal as two dads in a book, or evolution, or the earth being 4 billion years old and not 4,000 years old. If you can have a kid opt out of anything like that, or you as a parent can opt your kid out of learning anything like that, they're still enrolled in public schools. They still need an education. They still need to supplement, like, material to justify them taking up that seat. In a world where teachers are already so overworked and underpaid, they cannot make multiple lesson plans to accommodate all the kids that may opt out if this is allowed to be taken to its extreme. Teachers cannot functionally deal with that. It's just too much.
Well, and why stop at religious freedom, right? Like, the First Amendment's the freedom of expression broadly. What if a racist parent doesn't want their kid in school with black kids?
And that's what this ends up being. And that's why I say, like, religious freedom is so broad that's something that could happen. I mean, look at, the Satanic Church or the Satanic Temple. It's one of them's a real thing and one of them's another thing that's just like a political group that does things to test religious freedom and show how ridiculous that Christians can be. Like, you can just kind of do whatever you want. There's a lot of malicious compliance that can happen here that's not great for society overall. And when it gets to a situation where maybe a bunch of people are taking advantage of this and opting their kids out of anything that can be slightly perceived as sexual or deviant, when they think deviant is anything that has to do with not being a man and a woman liking each other, you get to a point where people who design curriculum or teachers with their lessons plans will remove anything that could possibly be deemed as offensive for everyone. So that they don't have to worry about creating different things for people who opt out. You just do queer erasure, or you just do evolutionary erasure. You're just getting rid of these concepts for everyone. And that's why I say this isn't protecting religious freedom. This is reinforcing religious doctrine, because now everyone will have to tailor their things to what the fucking Catholics want, or whatever powerful religious group is at the head of whatever movement it is to opt the most kids out of the most places in one particular school.
And this ruling, or this like set of rules, will absolutely dissolve if it ever gets to the point where Christians get the exact type of education system they want.
Yes.
Right? Because they're all against indoctrination. They want like a sort of seemingly pluralistic or pseudo-pluralistic education system where everyone can get like a specifically tailored to them thing that doesn't offend them in any way. But if Christians ever get in power and completely redesign the education system in their image, they're not going to allow for any other kind of curriculum. They're going to enforce it onto everybody because that is their end goal.
Of course.
So I don't know. None of this is actually about religious freedom. It's about, to sort of use their bastardized terminology, being free to live in a world without people that I don't like.
Exactly.
That's what they want out of this.
It's also like we have examples of how this can functionally like come about. Like obviously we're thinking in the extremes here, which is important when you consider precedent, and it's important when again you consider the rise of right-wing religious extremism. Texas is a huge market for textbooks, right? Texas has a list of approved textbooks for school districts. Books on the approved list are provided to schools at like no cost to the district whatsoever. There's a massive advantage for having your textbook as a publisher be on the Texas School Board approved list.
Sure.
The Texas Board of Education is responsible for determining what's on the list, and that is obviously an elected, political, and strictly right-wing ideological body. It's fucking Texas.
It's Texas.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on there. Because Texas is such this massive market, textbook publishers desperately want their books to be on that Texas Board of Education approved list, or else they are losing out on a massive amount of profit. In order to get them approved, they have to kowtow to the Texas Board of Education. And back a couple years ago, maybe like a decade ago, maybe a little bit further, in very recent history, before publishers moved to this digital workflow for publishing textbooks, giving textbooks to schools, before the Chromebook fucking revolution happened in public schools, you had physical paper. You had things that needed to be printed and sent out to people. It was not financially reasonable or even just practical to print multiple editions of textbooks for all of the different states and all of their different standards across the country. Publishers would favor Texas and the Texas Board of Education, what they wanted and what their standards were, so that they could get on that list and have access to that market.
Texas was setting curriculum for everybody else.
That meant that everybody else had to deal with Texas standards, and Texas standards sucked. Straight up, just Texas standards were bad.
This is everything that the right accuses the left of doing in education. Like imposing our standards and curriculum on everybody else. They've been doing this for years.
And that's at a macro level. What could happen at school districts if enough of fucking crazy Catholic kids were allowed to opt out? They would be enforcing curriculum for everybody else to deal with this SCOTUS decision. This shit is stupid.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
It's really dumb. There are limits to like religious freedom. Honestly, I don't even want to say that there are like limits to religious freedom because again, this is not about religious freedom. You don't have a freedom to like not see people on the street should you go in public. You when you opt into society, you opt into like seeing everybody in society and dealing with the things that come with society. It's not a violation of your protected religion to have to see that out on the street. And a ruling like this kind of gives precedent to that.
I mean, if you only want to see white people, you could like move to Poland or something.
Exactly.
But you don't. Like, you live in the United States, you're going to have to deal with the diversity that's inherent to the population of the United States. And yeah, like the First Amendment, when it comes to religious freedom, all the First Amendment says is that Congress shall not make a law respecting the establishment of religion. Like, there's not going to be a state-sanctioned religion or church. And of course, that applies to state governments as well, per previous Supreme Court precedent. But we'll see if that stands right. But yeah, it's like Congress, the government, will not make a state-run or state-endorsed religion that anybody else has to follow. That's where the protection exists.
Yes.
You get to go practice whatever religion you want, but you don't get to impose your religious practices, especially into the education system where like there's a plurality of students that have different beliefs and do different things. Because
how does this not become an imposition of your own beliefs onto like other people?
Of course.
Like that's straight up just what it is.
Yeah.
And it's silly and it's bad and it's wrong.
And even if it were possible, which it isn't, but even if it were possible for like every student to get a curriculum that is specifically tailored to their belief system and designed to not offend them, why would we want to do that?
Yeah, we should have standards
School
as a country.
is meant to challenge you, not to just endorse all the beliefs that your parents want you to have.
Yeah.
Also, what if the parents suck?
That's the biggest part of
yeah.
this,
What
too,
if the parents are
like,
dog shit, which many of them are?
Parents can already pull their kids out and like homeschool. Also, this is like a pro private school decision as well, because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, should public schools be ran through because of this? People who are able to will send their kids to the private school that's got the gay book, and they also have better education in general because they weren't ran through. And then those people will end up fine, and then the kids who were abandoned by public school will be homeschooled or pushed into even shittier public schools, and bad things will happen. When we do things that limit a public school's ability to educate its kids, we do things that favor private schools and ultimately further the class divide.
Yeah, and the existence of private schools is a scourge on the face of the country.
Truly.
Private schools are evil.
Yes,
like,
they are.
They should not be allowed to exist.
You know what, hot take? Maybe you should have to go to the school that's in your neighborhood. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm fully in it. I'm not in favor of school choice.
Oh, no, it's bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way that we fund education more broadly is the problem.
Well, school choice is bad because it's a funding issue.
It's downstream from another problem, yeah.
Exactly. Like, school choice, it's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, and it's just like, it's not bad in theory. Yeah, you should be able to pick like where you want to go to school, but it's bad because it's siphoning off funding for the people who can have the resources to get to the better school from the poor school.
Yeah.
And that's what sucks about it.
Yeah. And then we just end up blaming communities for their broke schools, and it's like, well, maybe if we tax people a bit more, you could actually pay for the schools. And that's why we're endorsing the ballot petition here in Michigan.
That's why we fuck with fund my kids or invest in my kids or fund my future.
Yeah.
One of those three.
Fucking whatever, man.
Fucking whatever. Big tax on things. We'll have more info when the petition is live.
That brings us to the end of this episode, I do believe.
It does. It does bring us to the end of this episode. What an episode today. Talking about Hunter Biden, talking about Nelk boys and Netanyahu, talking about SCOTUS, and talking about the Epstein files.
Too much, man.
Who'd have thought those things would be unified in 1 week?
Another glorious week of Head in the Office. 2 regular episodes. We know you guys like regular episodes and do not like interviews.
Yeah, Hiddo supremacy here.
Maybe if we do any interviews in the future, we'll just attach like a regular episode to it. But then that's 3 podcasts in a week.
That's saying, yeah. You want me to do more work?
I work to not work.
What's going on?
I avoid work.
Come on, I do not dream of labor.
I don't dream of labor, man.
It's fucked up. But we got to give a special thanks to the people who help keep the lights on in this very studio. And that starts with Caden Kraut, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Mike Chaplinsky, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Caleb Joy, Rich Tarotari, Fergalaki, Max Vesquez, Jacob Rogers, Colin Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Big Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutts, Jennifer DeVoe, Croft Fishing, Bennett Pennington III, Alexia Benanti, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Ted Cruz, Boy Toy, Dictator Jace, Luke O'Shea, Carker Tarleson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundams, Darth Father, Taylor for Content, Corey Chambers, Retro Mondo, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Ass Smith the Grotler, Murder in a Trench Coat, Casey Lynn Kelly, AK Gon, Iguana Don, Zach Lantian, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rinsa, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C., Anna Valitic, KCC, Say Yes to West, August Particular Bickman, Sir Capilot, Jeff Science, Brendan is Egg, Froggy Gumdrop,
Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, MJ Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Chris T, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, Tyler J, Particulon, Memfrez, Rhonda Stiletto, Midwest Marxist, Joe the Mailman, Gary from West Michigan, Shawnee GG, Juniper Not Jupiter, Stacked Crabs, I Crowley, Urban Peach, Lord of Forlorn, Holt Forsyth, Booty Snakes, Dew Fairy, Chelceratops, Austin Lima, Lane Waltz, Azim Fida Hussein, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, Brooklyn G, Noverk the Dastardly, Goldthorn, Addy Book, Merlin, Cryobongi, Sergeant Poogie, Hoodie, Kim Kitsuragi, Rose Grimm, Kristen, Jamie the Young Extremist, Jack the Heathen, Archer W, Evan Mingo, AJ Torres, Elo Nico, Jake Hall, Seth Schmidt, Noah Sajas, Majawa, Ultra the Dragon, Mercy Boku, Dick Cheney and 6-Inch Heels, Luke Wechter, Henry Kraggles, Tristan Ringsmith, Yaya, Asura the Atheist, Aiden Reese, Deep State Agent, Puddle Pirate, Joshua Franklin, Southern Lefty, Lark 61, KC, Cannon Man, Troy H, Rourke Muffalo, Nahan San Diego, Nut Mode, Nick from New Haven, Connor Nix, Steven Schwartz, Sound Logic, Sleven, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon. You're wonderful.
You're wonderful. You're beautiful. And if you've made it this far, you listened all the way through the list, and you think my name should be on that list, let us know if you're a Patreon subscriber. And if you want your name to be on that list, go over to the Patreon.
You have to become a patron. You
have to. It's going to become a mandate. Get the Monday mandate.
Exactly. Get it now while you can, folks. Who knows what tomorrow holds?
Shed your Friday freeloader and Wednesday welfare title. Get the Monday mandate and then become a Thursday thought leader.
May every day be a beautiful secret.
Have a great weekend.